Alright, in this lesson we will continue our work with parabolas, but we're going to be working on changing forms from general form, which is what you see here with no parentheses or anything, to standard form, which is what we've been working with when you have your parentheses like this, and you can look and you can see the vertex is h and k. This is standard form, and here's an example of a parabola written in standard form. So we're going to be going from equations like this to equations like this. As always, please put your pencil or pen down. Don't copy off of me as I show you how to do the problems. You're going to want to go back and do these problems by yourself to make sure that you can really do them. And practice. You need the practice. Alright, if I want to rewrite this in standard form with the parentheses and everything, focus on this, okay? Look at the variable that's squared. That's the x. Alright, that lets me know that this is what I want on the left side of the equation. Everything else needs to go ahead and be on the right hand side. So with that in mind, I am going to subtract 12y from both sides. Okay, that way these are gone. Now, I have x squared plus 4x, and I'm going to leave a space because I'm going to have to complete the square here. And then over here, I'm going to have negative 12y plus 56. Okay, so it's time to complete the square. Half of the middle squared. So half of this is 2. 2 squared is 4. So I have to add a 4. Of course, anything I add to the left, I'll have to add it also to the right. So make sure you do that. Now, the point of completing the square, this is where the parentheses come in. This should always factor as the same thing twice. In this case, x plus 2 times x plus 2. Alright, meanwhile over here I have negative 12y plus 60, combining these like terms. Alright, now that means I could write this as x plus 2 quantity squared equals. Now, for the other set of parentheses over here, we really want that focal width number, the 4p number, to be out in front of parentheses. Okay, so basically, if I know I need that negative 12 out there, then what I'm doing is I'm dividing both of these by negative 12. 60 divided by negative 12 is negative 5. Okay, and you can check it and imagine now doing the distributive property. Of course, negative 12 times y is negative 12y. And negative 12 times negative 5 is positive 60, so it checks out. So guess what? That's all there is to it. We have now rewritten this equation in standard form. The rest, now we can go on and graph it and find all this good information. Let's start with knowing, does it open up, down, left, or right? Now remember, the first parabola we ever learned was y equals x squared. And we know that that was a upward facing parabola. So anytime I see x squared, I know it's going to be either up or down. And see, even though it's in parentheses, I have x squared, so I know it's either going to be up or down. Up was positive, down was negative. Now, it's the 12 that matters here. Because this is negative, that means it's going to be down. The plus 2 and the minus 5 have nothing to do with it. So I know it's going to be down. So opens down. Okay, now let's talk vertex. Alright, standard form is great when it comes to the vertex because it's just going to be the opposite of this one, comma, that one. Alright, I mean it's opposite of both of these. So negative 2, comma, positive 5. So negative 2 comma 5. Let's go ahead and graph that. Okay, so negative 2 comma 5 is going to be right here. Okay, so that is my vertex, guys. Next, we need to find the focus. But in order to find the focus, we need to find P. Okay, and I'm talking about when you're looking at standard form, the number in front is really 4 times this value P, 4P. We need to know what P is. So, since this negative 12 is in the 4P position, 4P equals negative 12. Alright, if you look at it that way, dividing both sides by 4 is going to give us P equals negative 3. Now that tells us where the focus goes. Alright, we know it opens down, so that means the focus will be down. And now we know it will be down 3. So here's the focus right here. Of course, that is the point negative 2 comma 2. Alright, now the directrix will be in the opposite direction from the focus. So if the focus is down 3, then the directrix is a line that will be up 3 from the vertex. Alright, so our directrix will be here. Okay, now we just, oh yeah, let's go ahead and name it. So this is y equals 8. Horizontal lines are always y equals the number. Vertical would be x equals. Okay, now we just need 2 more points somewhere around the focus so we can graph this thing. The focal width comes from this number in front of the unsquared parentheses. Ignore the negative sign. The focal width will be 12. Okay, that means the width of the parabola at the level of the focus is 12, which means 6 to the left, okay, which would be here, and 6 to the right. Alright, total of 12, not 12 left, 12 right, total of 12 from side to side. Okay, and that allows us to draw our parabola. Kabam! There you go. Alright, let's move on to the next problem. Number 2. Okay, so we need to rewrite this thing in standard form. Notice the y is squared, so that means it's the y's that I want on the left. Everything else needs to go to the other side. Okay, so that means I am going to add 8x to both sides, and I'm going to subtract 32 from both sides. Okay, so what I will have then is y squared plus 8y, leave a space to complete the square. Then over here I'm going to have my 8x minus 32. Now let's complete that square. Half the middle squared. So half of this is 4. 4 squared is 16. There you go. Please make sure you do it on both sides of the equation. Common mistake. That will allow us to write this as the same thing twice. So y plus 4 times y plus 4. Okay. Meanwhile, here I have 8x. If I combine these, negative 32 plus 16, well, that's just negative 16. So this is going to give me y plus 4 quantity squared, because there's 2 of them. And let's factor out the GCF here of 8. And that will leave behind x minus 2, of course. 8 times 2 is 16. Genius. And kabam, this is our standard form. feel like I should put a box around it. So this is our standard form. First, let's decide, is this going to open up, down, left, or right? We know that y equals x squared is the normal upward facing parabola. So when x is squared, that's either up or down if it's negative. But here we have the y being squared, not x squared, but y squared. When you have y squared, that's when you have sideways facing parabolas like these. Okay, either to the left or to the right. To the right would be positive, to the left would be negative. This 8 is positive, which means we will be facing to the right. So this is going to open to the right. Alright, now let's talk vertex. Got to be a little bit careful. It's still easy peasy lemon squeezy, but a common mistake would be to look here and go, oh, -4, 2. But that would be wrong, because when you do your vertex, the x coordinate has to come from the x, and the y coordinate has to come from the y part of the equation. So it will actually be 2, -4 will be my vertex. Okay, do not mix those up. The y is on the left, so you gotta switch it up. So the vertex is 2, -4. Alright, let's go ahead and graph it up. So 2, -4 is going to be right here. Alright, let's talk focus. Alright, to get the focus, we need that p value. And you see the 8, so 4p is going to equal 8. Alright, that means that p is going to equal 2. Because we divide. So p is equal to 2. Now that tells me where the focus goes. We already know it's going to go to the right. But now we know, because of the p, we know it will be to the right 2. Starting from the vertex. So we go to the right 2, and there's the focus. Now if we go to the left 2, there's the directrix. Now the left 2 puts us right on the y-axis, which is just fine with me. Let me jazz it up. Okay, so there is our directrix. Let's record this stuff. So the focus is 4, -4. The directrix. Okay, vertical lines are always x equals a number. In this case, it's right on the line, so that's x equals 0. Now the focal width, alright, is 8. It's always positive, by the way. Now, this is a right-facing parabola, so I know it's doing this type of a thing. But the width of the parabola at the focus should be 8. That means it should be up 4 and down 4 from here. So, total of 8. Now we can draw the parabola. Alright, something like that will do okay. Alright, number 3, let us move on. Alright, so we need to convert this to standard form. Notice the x is squared. That means the x's will be on the left, which means this needs to go to the right. So I'm going to do plus 16y on both sides. Okay, so that's going to leave me with x squared minus 4x. Leave a space to complete the square. Then I'll have positive 16y plus 76. Time to complete the square. This is where the parentheses come from. Half of 4 is 2. 2 squared is 4. Make sure you do it on both sides, please. this will factor as the same thing twice, every single time. So this will be x times x, and then 2 times 2, and then minus minus. Notice this middle term here, this is where the signs come from. The third term is always positive, so that doesn't help us. If this is negative, these will be negative. Meanwhile, over here, I've got 16y plus 80. Alright, so I can write this as x minus 2 quantity squared equals, let's see, does 16 go into 80 evenly? I don't recall. 80 divided by 16. 5 times, check it out. Okay, so that means 16 is the GCF, and we have y plus 5 in there. So that is it. We have successfully rewritten this in standard form. That means the vertex, well, okay, wait. First, does it open up, down, left, or right? Well, since the x is squared, just like good old y equals x squared, we know it's going to either open up or down. Because the 16 is positive, it will be up, just like good old y equals x squared. So opens up. Now the vertex. Opposite of both of these, so 2 comma negative 5. 2 comma negative 5. Now to find the focus, no, let's graph that. So the vertex is at 2 comma negative 5. Shame on you if you have a pen or a pencil in your hand. Okay, let me just reiterate. If you're copying off of me as I do it, you're not learning, and you have a false sense of knowing what you're doing. Alright, put your pencil down, do it yourself later. Don't be lazy. So what do I have here? So focus time. Yeah, to find the focus, we need to find p. So 4p is equal to 16. If I divide by 4, then p is equal to 4, don't you know? Okay, now this tells me where to put the focus. Hold on, I wanted this to be pink. Yeah, this tells me where to put the focus. I knew it would be up. Now I know it will be up 4 from the vertex. So here's the focus. Okay, the directrix will be 4 in the other direction. So I know that my directrix will be down 4. So it would be here. Okay, so there's my directrix. Now let's label this stuff up. So the focus was at 2 comma negative 1. The directrix is here at y equals negative 9. Horizontal lines are always y equals. Okay, vertical lines would be x equals. Now the focal width. Is the 16. It's always positive, by the way. The focal width is 16. That means that at the level of the focus, the width of this parabola, it should be 16 wide. That means it should be 8 to the right and 8 to the left. Okay, if I counted this all the way across, the width of the entire parabola is 16. Now I can use these 3 points to graph my parabola. Kabam! Alright, so that was number 3. Number 4. Alright, you should be quite the expert on this by now. And maybe you're not even watching this anymore because you learned from doing the previous ones, right? Do you have a pencil in your hand or a pen? If so, chuck that mess across the room, cheater. Okay, I love you. Don't get me wrong. I just worry about you and your bad habits. All right. The y is squared. That means the y's will be the ones that we keep on the left. Meanwhile, these two are going to have to go to the right. So I'm going to subtract 4x from both sides. And I'm going to subtract 44 from both sides. Alright, that is going to give me y squared minus 8y. Leave a space to complete the square. Equals, now I've got this, negative 4x minus 44. Now I complete the square. So half of this is 4. 4 squared is 16. Please remember to add 16 to both sides. Common mistake is to leave that out. Anytime you complete the square, it's going to factor as the same thing twice. So this will be y minus 4 twice. Notice the sign comes from the middle term. This is always positive, so not very relevant. So here I'll have negative 4x. Now, negative 44 plus 16, alright, that's going to be negative 28. So now we can go ahead and write this as y minus 4 quantity squared equals, now negative 4 is going to be the GCF here, and that's going to leave behind x plus 7. Okay, negative 4 times positive 7 would be negative 28, so plus 7. Okay, so this is our standard form. So now we are ready to answer all the questions. First, does it open up, down, left, or right? Well, we know that the a normal parabola that we learned about is y equals x squared. We know that's up or down if it's negative. So when the x is squared, we know it's up or down. But here we have the y being squared. If the y is squared, that's when we have a sideways parabola, either to the left or going to the right. Okay, to the right is positive and to the left is negative. Because we have a negative 4 here, that means we're going to the left. Okay, notice the minus 4, the plus 7 have nothing to do with it. It's all about the minus 4 right there. Okay, so it opens to the left. Okay, now how about the vertex? Alright, please be careful with the vertex. Notice that the equation is backwards as far as the vertex goes, meaning when we do the vertex, the x-coordinate has to come from the x part of the equation. So it will be the opposite of both of these. So I have positive 7, so it'll be negative 7. Okay, and I have a negative 4, so this will be positive 4. But notice we have to, kind of reverse it. Okay, so anyway, that's my vertex, negative 7, comma 4. Alright, now we need the focus. To get the focus, we need that p-value. So we know that 4p equals this number right here. So 4p is equal to negative 4. Dividing by 4 on both sides, that gives us that p is equal to negative 1. Okay, good to know. Now, I should have graphed the vertex straight away. The vertex is at negative 7, comma 4. So that's negative 7, 4. Here's our vertex. Except for OCD requires me to make it pink like the others. Okay, so negative 7, comma 4. Now, this p-value tells me where the focus will be. I know the parabola is opening to the left. So now I know that my focus will be 1 to the left. So my focus goes here. Okay, now my directrix will be an equal amount in the other direction. So if my focus is 1 to the left, then my directrix will be 1 to the right. So here's my directrix. Silly rabbit. Directrix are made for kids. Okay, so there's my focus and my directrix. I should jot this down. So my focus was -8, 4. And my directrix, this vertical line, is x equals. Vertical lines are always x equals -6. Horizontal lines would be y equals. Alright, now the focal width will give me 2 more points. Let's snag that focal width real quick. Alright, ignoring the negative sign, because width can't be negative, the focal width is 4. Okay, that tells me that the width of the parabola at the focus will be 4, which means 2 up and 2 down in this case, for a total of 4. And that's enough to allow me to draw this parabola.
Look at that cute little parabola. Who's a good little parabola? You are.
Alright, so that's it for number 4. How many more of these we got, people? 2 more. Alright, this is a relatively short assignment, I suppose. Guess it does take a few steps. Anyway, this one's looking a little short. I wonder if that's going to cause us any trouble. Well, let's rewrite this in standard form. Now I'm noticing that the y is squared, so I know the y needs to be over here on the left, which means this needs to go to the right. So I'm definitely going to add 14x to both sides. Okay, now I've only got one y term, so it's weird but doable. Normally when I have the 2 terms, I leave space to complete the square, but y is already squared, so I don't have to complete any square. I'm just going to leave it as y squared equals. Meanwhile over here I have 14x plus 70. Okay, genius. So that part is done. I don't have to do anything with the y squared. Over here is where I'm going to get some parentheses going. I'm betting 14 goes into 70 evenly. Yeah, everything's going in 5 times today, so check that out. So bam, this is our standard form. Okay, this looks a little short because y squared is like having y minus 0 squared. All right, it's just the exact same thing. Okay, but we wouldn't need the 0, so we don't need the parentheses. Anyway, understand it's a 0. Either way, is this going to open up, down, left, or right? Well, you know a normal upward facing parabola is y equals x squared, right? So when x is squared, we know it's either up or down. But in this case, we have y squared. And when y is squared, we know it's sideways, either to the left or to the right. Because the 14 is positive, I know that this will open to the right. Now, let's talk vertex. Be careful. The vertex will be the opposite of these, but the x value needs to come from the x part of the equation, so minus 5. The y value needs to come from the y part of the equation, so 0. So negative 5 comma 0. They sort of crisscrossed it. So the vertex is negative 5 comma 0. Let's graph it. Negative 5 comma 0 is right on the line. I shall make it pink though. Okay. Alright, the next thing we need is the focus. For that we need the p-value, meaning we know that 4p is going to equal this 14 right here, right? Interesting. So to get the p-value, you know I need to divide by that 4, y'all. But 4 does not go into 14 evenly, but we don't care, alright? We're not scared. 14 divided by 4. That's 3.5. Alright, that is our p-value. Now that p-value tells us where to put the focus. We know that it opens right. Alright, now we know the focus will be 3.5 to the right of the vertex. So 1, 2, 3 and a half. 0.5 is a half. Alright, so the focus will be right here. And now the coordinates of this, okay, now looking at where I put this, this is negative 1.5. So this is negative 1.5 comma 0, alright? It's right on the line, so it's not up anywhere. So that's the focus. Now the directrix is going to be the same distance to the left. So it should be 3.5 to the left of the vertex here. So that's going to put my directrix. So this would be 3 to the left, so 3.5 would be right here. Alright, let's go ahead and label that as well. Vertical lines are always x equals a number. In this case, x equals negative 8.5. Yeah, that's genius. What else? What else? Alright, the focal width will help us finish the graph. So let's go snag that. The focal width is 14. Always positive, by the way. The focal width is 14. That means, you know, as this parabola does this type of thing, the width at the focus should be a total of 14, which means up 7 and down 7. So if I go up 7, it's going to be right there. If I go down 7, it's going to be right here. Okay, so I will use these 3 points to graph my parabola. Kabam! There it is. Alright, we got one more of these things. Number 6. For the last time, if I done told you once, I told you 1,000 times, put your pencil or pen down. I apologize to all of you good children that do not have a pencil or pen in your hand, but you know, there's always that one that just needs to get yelled at. You know, try to keep a kid from failing. Anyhoozle, x is squared. That lets me know that this is the part that's going to be on the left side of the equation, okay? That means these two parts are going to skedaddle over to the right. So I'm going to wind up doing minus 10y and a minus 9 on both sides. So I'll have a minus 10y and a minus 9. These are gone. So as I recopy and stuff, this is going to give me x squared minus 6x. Leave a space to complete the square, and then over here, like I said, I will have negative 10y minus 9. Now we complete the square. Half of the middle squared. So half of 6 is 3. 3 squared is 9. Now make sure you add that 9 on both sides of the equation. Common mistakes, leaving that out. Let some other person make that mistake. Not you. Not you. Now, anytime you complete the square, it's going to factor as the same thing twice. So in this case, x minus 3 times x minus 3. Notice the sign comes from the middle term. If that's negative, they will be negative. Doesn't come from this because that's always positive no matter what, so ignore that. Meanwhile, over here, something interesting happens. You're probably noticing that these 9s, positive 9 and negative 9, they cancel each other out. So I'm just going to simply have negative 10y over here. Meanwhile, on the left side, I can write this as x minus 3 quantity squared. Normally I'd do something with the GCF here, but there's only the one term, so I'm just going to bring it down. So again, you know, when you look at this, it's you should be thinking, well, this is like having y minus 0. And that's what you'll be looking at when you do your vertex and stuff. But first, let's talk about whether or not this is going to open up, down, left, or right. Now, we know that the ordinary parabola that we first learned about was y equals x squared, an upward facing parabola. So anytime we see x squared, we're thinking, okay, it's either up or down if it's negative. Okay, in this case, we have x squared. All right, x squared. So we know it's going to be either up or down, just like good old x squared. Now, looking at the 10, because that's negative, it will be down, like this. Okay, notice the minus 3 has nothing to do with it. It's all about the 4p number here. Okay, so we know it will be down. So that will be down. Everybody, get down! Alright, so what's next? The vertex. If I want my vertex, I'm going to read that right off of this right now. So I know it's going to be the opposite of this and the opposite of that. So that's going to be 3, 0. Alright, now we really don't need this pink part. Just know that if it's just y by itself, that's a 0. So 3, 0. Okay, 3, 0. So that's over 3 and up nothing. So that's my vertex. Now it's time for the focus. To get the focus, we need the p-value. Alright, and we'll start with this. 4p is equal to negative 10. So that means to get the p-value, we're going to have to divide by 4 on both sides. Okay, and that's going to give me p equals whoa, you can't really see that. Come back. Is there no compromise in here, people? Okay. It's negative 2.5. Alright, I'm wasting time. Alright, sometimes OCD can be a monster, you guys. Negative 2.5. So this p-value tells me where the focus is going to go. Now, we already knew it was going to open down. Get out. So now I know that it will, the focus will be negative 2.5. It will be 2.5 down from the vertex. So here's 2 and here's the 0.5, like 2.5 down. So there's my focus. So let's record that. So that is at the point 3 comma negative 2.5. Okay, now of course the directrix will be the same amount in the opposite direction. So it'll be 2.5 up, which puts it right here. Alright, so that's great. Let's record that as well. The directrix is always going to be either y equals or x equals. Horizontal lines are always y equals a number. And that is 2.5. So y equals positive 2.5. The focal width will give me 2 extra points to graph this thing. The focal width is going to come from this value. Ignore this negative sign. Widths can't be negative, silly. Right, the focal width is 10. That means the width of this parabola at the level of the focus is 10, which means 5 to the right and 5 to the left. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the left. Okay, and that will give me enough points to draw this parabola. Alright, that's a handsome looking parabola, if ever I saw one. Don't hate. Okay, I hope this video has been helpful to you guys, and I will see you on the next video. Peace.